Welcome back to the deep dive. I hope you're ready, because today we are strapping in for something a little different. Usually we are unpacking complex history or looking at the bleeding edge of scientific breakthrough, or maybe wading through a dense piece of classic literature to find gems. But today
we are going to the movies.
To war.
And not just any movie. We are looking at a film that has achieved a very specific, somewhat dubious kind of immortality in the pop culture consciousness.
I think dubious is the right word.
We are talking about the 2016 fantasy epic Gods of
Egypt. Even just saying the title brings back memories. I remember seeing those posters in the subway back in 2016. They were huge, they were shiny, and they're so gold. I remember thinking, wait, is that the guy from Game of Thrones with wings?
It was indeed Jaime Lannister with wings. And lots of gold, and famously, lots of controversy.
Right. So for this deep dive, we are taking a stack of sources, articles, reviews, breakdowns. But our primary guide through this digital desert storm is a detailed analysis by a creator known as the Mythology guy. Now, I want to be clear right off the bat. This isn't just a movie recap. We aren't just going to sit here and tell you the plot of a 10-year-old movie. This is a dissection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about a film that is infamous, not just for being a box office bomb or what our source affectionately calls a schlockbuster, but for making some truly baffling choices with one of the richest, most visually distinct mythologies in human history.
It really is a fascinating case study when you think about it. You have a massive budget. We're talking blockbuster money, $140 million, give or take.
It's a huge
You have incredible source material. I mean, Egyptian mythology has thousands of years of stories, complex characters, drama, magic, the underworld, and yet the execution went sideways in almost every conceivable way.
Almost everything, from historical accuracy to narrative logic, and of course, the casting.
Oh, we are definitely going to get to the cast. That is the elephant in the room.
Or maybe the giant CGI snake in the room.
Yeah, that too. But what I love about the perspective we're exploring today is that the mission isn't just to dunk on the movie.
Right.
It's easy to say, this movie is bad. The goal here is to understand how a film with this much money and this much potential managed to get so much wrong.
And crucially, to identify the few surprising nuggets of accuracy that actually managed to slip through the cracks.
Because there are?
There are. It's not a complete wasteland, which is almost more confusing in a way.
It is. That's the vibe check from our source. The stance isn't that this is the absolute worst movie ever made, though I know some critics were sharpening their knives in 2020.
Oh, they were.
The argument is that it's not all bad, just bafflingly misguided. It's a series of choices that make you go, wait, why did they do that? Rather than just, this is boring.
It's a spectacular mess, not a boring one. And honestly, sometimes those are the most interesting things to analyze. Because when something fails this hard, it usually means they were trying something really specific and just missed the mark completely.
So let's dive in. We have to start with what our source calls the elephant in the room.
The casting and the aesthetics.
Right. So the movie is called Gods of Egypt. It is set in Africa, in Egypt.
The clue is in the name.
The clue is in the name. And yet,
looking at the main cast, Gerard Butler, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Brenton Thwaites, you would be forgiven for thinking it was set in Northern Europe.
Or a generic fantasy version of London, maybe?
Right. Our source puts it pretty... He quotes that famous line from Mean Girls.
Oh, I know that.
If you're from Africa, why are you white?
It's a sharp critique, but it really cuts to the core of the issue, doesn't it?
It does. And the source makes a really interesting point about consistency and audience expectation. He applies a standard here.
Okay.
He says, if this movie were called Celtic God, you'd expect the actors to look Celtic. You'd expect pale skin, maybe red hair, specific features associated with that region.
Sure, that makes sense.
If it were Japanese gods, you'd expect a Japanese cat.
Right, you wouldn't cast Gerard Butler as the Emperor of Japan.
You'd hope not. So the critique is about the promise made by the title versus the reality of the screen. He calls the movie poster an oxymoron.
An oxymoron! I love that.
The text says Egypt, but the visual representation says Europe. It's like the premise failed before the movie even hit theaters.
And we have to remember the context. This wasn't a small gripe. This caused a massive controversy back in
A huge one.
It was a huge cultural conversation about whitewashing in Hollywood. And our source notes that the director didn't exactly help matters.
No, he did not.
Apparently, the backlash led to the director saying some, quote, stupid things online to defend it.
Pro tip for directors.
Yeah.
Don't fight the internet in the comments section. It rarely goes well.
Never.
He tried to argue about marketability and international sales, but all it did was alienate the people who actually cared about the mythology. It came across as, well, we don't think a movie with actual Egyptian-looking people would sell.
Which is just a terrible look all around.
A terrible look.
But, okay, let's say you can get past the casting. Let's say you sit down, you suspend your disbelief, you're ready for a fun fantasy ride.
Okay.
Then you see the gods standing next to the mortals, and things get weird.
This is one of those visual choices that sounds daring in a pitch meeting, but looks bizarre in practice. In the film, the gods are depicted as being physically much larger than mortals. We're talking 9 or 10 feet tall.
So you've got these scenes where a normal-sized human is talking to a god, and the eye lines are all over the place. It's like watching Hagrid talk to Harry Potter, but for the whole movie.
Exactly. The reviewer's critique is that while the intent was likely to show grandeur, to visually represent power and status, to make them feel larger than life, quite literally, the execution just looks cartoony.
Yeah, cartoony is a good word for it.
It feels awkward. When they share the screen, the forced perspective effects just make it look ridiculous rather than majestic.
It creates this uncanny valley effect, like you're watching a bad Photoshop job come to life. It reminds you constantly that you're watching a special effect rather than immersing story.
And then there's the physiology, the blood.
Ah, yes, the gold blood.
In the movie, when a god gets cut, they bleed gold, which visually looks kind of cool, I guess. It's sparkly, it's distinct.
It is, but is that Egyptian? That's the question. Is there a mythic base?
Well, according to our mythology expert, not really. The idea of gods bleeding gold, or ichor, is actually much more of a Greek mythology trait.
Oh, interesting. So they're mixing mythologies.
A little bit, yeah. In Egyptian myth, the gods' bodies were often described poetically. Their bones were made of silver, their flesh of gold, their hair of lapis lazuli. But the idea of them actually bleeding liquid gold specifically feels like a mix-up.
So why do it? Just because it looks shiny?
The source has a pretty pragmatic theory, and I think he's right. The PG-13 rating.
Oh, of course. That makes so much sense.
Think about it. This is a movie with swords, spears, and giant monsters. If you hack a character's arm off and red blood sprays everywhere, that's gore.
Right, that gets you an R rating.
That gets you an R rating. That limits your ticket sales, your audience.
But if they bleed shiny gold glitter...
That's fantasy violence. It's magical. It's confetti. You can show a lot more dismemberment. And this movie has limbs flying off, heads getting crushed. If the fluid coming out looks like jewelry.
That is so cynical and probably 100% true. It's a total schlockbuster move.
Yeah.
Prioritizing the rating over the aesthetic or...
Absolutely.
And then just to cap off the aesthetic, we have the cost, specifically the crown.
The crowns are a sore spot for our expert.
I can see why.
The source points out that accuracy was, quote, a 5-second Google search away.
Right.
Egyptian crowns, the shint, the deshret, the hedjet, they are iconic. They have very specific shapes that represent Upper and Lower Egypt.
Even I know what those look like from history class.
Right.
The tall white one, the red one with the curl.
Exactly. They're instantly recognizable. And yet the crowns in the movie look distinctly European.
They do. They look like something you'd see in a generic King Arthur.
It really emphasizes that generic feeling. It's like they took a standard fantasy script and just did a find and replace for the names. Change castle to pyramid. Change king to pharaoh.
That's actually a great transition to part 2 of our deep dive, the mythology versus Hollywood setup, because the genealogy family tree of the god is where things get really...
Okay, let's unpack the family drama, because Egyptian mythology is basically one big, complicated soap opera.
It really is.
But the movie tries to simplify it. In the film, we have Osiris and Set, and they're presented as the children of Ra, the sun god.
Right, which simplifies things for a movie audience, sure. You have the grandfather, Ra, the sons, Osiris and Set, and then the grandson, Horus. Clean lines. Everyone understands a grandfather.
But in actual Egyptian mythology, that is skipping a massive generation.
The huge...
Osiris and Set are descendants of Ra, yes, but they're specifically the children of Nut, the goddess of the sky, and Geb, the god of the earth.
Nut and Geb, the sky and the earth. That is such a poetic, foundational part of the myth. The separation of earth and sky creating this space for life.
It is. It's the creation myth. It's fundamental. And by cutting them out, you lose that cosmic connection. You just turn Ra into the old king figure from a Shakespeare play.
And Osiris and Set become just bickering brothers.
It flattens the pantheon unnecessarily. It takes the god out of the gods and makes them just a dysfunctional royal family.
Speaking of dysfunctional, let's talk about the coronations. This is the inciting incident of the movie. Osiris is about to crown his son, Horus, as king.
And here we have a major character critique from our source. In the film, Horus is a full-grown man. His father, Osiris, is still alive and, well, just retiring, essentially.
Which feels very corporate. I'm stepping down as CEO to spend more time on my sun barge.
It does. It feels very modern and mundane. But think about the myth of Horus. Horus is the event. He is the child raised in secret by his mother Isis, specifically to avenge his father's murder. That is his entire purpose. That defines him. He is a focused warrior born of tragedy. His whole existence is about reclaiming what was stolen and restoring order.
And in the movie?
In the movie, because his dad is still alive and just handing him the crown, Horus is described by our source as a spoiled trust fund kid.
That's a great description.
He sleeps around, he drinks, he's irresponsible. He wakes up late for his own coronation, hungover.
So they turn the god of vengeance into a party boy who needs to learn a lesson.
Precisely. It lowers the stakes immediately. We aren't rooting for a warrior reclaiming his birthright from his evil uncle. We're watching a rich kid get a wake-up call. It turns a revenge epic into a coming-of-age story, which is just a weird choice for a god.
A very weird choice. And then the party crasher arrives. Enter Gerard Butler as Set.
Gerard Butler. This performance is, well, it's something.
The source makes a big deal about the accent. We're in ancient Egypt. All the gods have these posh British accents because Hollywood rules state ancient people must sound British.
Of course.
Except Gerard Butler, who is just going full Scottish.
The source has a hilarious theory about this. He jokes that the production probably thought, well, if we make it Scottish, at least it's not British.
Right.
Like they were trying to avoid the trope of British accented ancients by pivoting to an even less accurate accent.
Why is the Egyptian god of chaos from Paisley? Don't worry about it. It sounds tough.
But beyond the accent, the characterization of Set is where the mythology really takes a hit.
Right, the motivation.
In the film, his motivation is flipped. He attacks because he's jealous, yes, but he gives this whole speech about how peace has made them weak. He thinks peace is stagnation.
He's basically doing a might makes right. You've gone soft, brother. The desert is strong. The river is weak.
He is. He challenges everyone openly. He yells, he fights, he stabs Osiris in front of a crowd. It was very direct.
But in mythology,
Set is the trick. He is the god of chaos and deception. He knows he can't beat Osiris in a fair fight.
right, Osiris is beloved.
Right.
He's the god of civilization.
Powerful. So Set uses a trap, the famous box or coffin, that he tricks Osiris into lying down in during a party.
Right, the party trick that turns into a murder. Who fits in this beautiful box?
Exact. It's dark, it's devious, and it shows Set's maniacal. It explains why the other gods fear him, not just because he's strong, but because he's unpredictable and cunning.
The movie strips all that away and just makes him a loud guy with a sword.
A loud Scottish guy with a sword.
We have to keep adding that.
Although the source does give credit for one thing, the wasp scepter.
The stick he carries.
Yes, the scepter he carries is visually very similar to the mythological depictions of Set's staff. So, amidst the Scottish yelling and the public stabbing, the prop department got one thing right.
Okay, so Set takes over. Horus is exiled. And now we have to introduce the human element, the mortal, because you can't have a god movie without a human to explain things.
This is where the schlock factor really kicks in for our reviewer. The source refers to our main mortal hero, Beck, as Aladdin.
Because he's a generic thief with a heart of gold who jumps across rooftops.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And his partner, Zaya, is referred to as Discount Jazz.
Ouch.
The critique here focuses heavily on the dialogue. There's a scene where the couple is discussing a dress, and the source describes it as a pure exposition dump.
I love that term. When characters stop talking like humans and start reading the plot some each other.
Exactly. The line is something like, I need to buy some ribbon for this dress, for the coronation. It's so unnatural. And the male-led, Beck, is making these wild promises. He promises her rivers of jewels and a golden palace.
Which, for a thief living in a hut, is a bold claim. I'm gonna buy you a golden palace, babe. Just give me a week.
The critique is that the actors don't sound Egyptian, obviously, but they also don't even sound like real humans having a conversation. It's purely functional dialogue to move the plot. It feels like the first draft of a script that never got polished.
And then there's the gift scene. This was one of my favorite parts of the review because it highlights just how weird.
Oh, this is a masterclass in bad writing.
So a character gives a bracelet to Hathor, the goddess of love.
The architect, Urshu, he's designed Set's pyramid.
Yeah.
And he gives this gift and describes it to the person wearing it in excessive detail. He says, the bracelet of 42 stars from a valuable treasure Egypt has never known.
Who talks like that? Here is the sandwich I made you. It features ham from the finest deli and mustard from the jar.
Nobody. The source uses a great humorous analogy here. He says it's like giving a friend a gift and saying, that is a limited edition Apple Watch I gave you last year. It has a retina display and GPS tracking.
And remember, it is no longer available in stores.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's narcissism disguised as dialogue. It's the writer telling the audience how cool the prop is, but having the character say it out loud, it pulls you right out of the movie because it feels so artificial.
It's just so clumsy. So we have clunky dialogue, we have a Scottish villain, now we get to the action. Fall of Horus and the rise of Set. They fight and they transform.
Armored beast mode.
This sounds like a toy line.
Yeah, it looks like a toy line. In the film, when the gods fight at full power, they transform into these metallic, robotic versions of their animal forms.
So instead of a falcon-headed man, you get Robo-Falcon.
Yeah. And Set turns into this generic armored creature. The source really laments this as a missed opportunity.
Why is that?
In mythology, Set is a shapeshifter. He's associated with chaotic, unidentifiable beasts. The Set animal is a creature we still can't quite identify in hieroglyph. It looks like a dog-anteater hybrid. He's mystery incarnate.
So he could have been turning into hippos or crocodiles or strange monsters.
That would have been terrifying. Imagine a fight scene where the villain is constantly changing form, adapting to the fight. Instead, we got a shiny metal suit.
It strips the magic away and replaces it with CGI metal clank.
It feels like Transformers instead of the Mummy.
That's a great comparison. And then the way the fight ends, the shiny object weakness, this is arguably the biggest logic fail in the first act.
It's baffling. It really is. So Set defeats Horus, who is, remember, a sky god associated with the sun and light.
A key detail.
By using a shield to reflect sunlight into his eyes.
He blinds the sun god with the sun.
That makes zero sense. The source points out a massive plot hole here.
Please, break it down.
Later in the film, we see the Eye of Horus itself, the actual object radiating intense light. His eyes are light sources. They glow. They shoot beams of light. So how could reflected light blind him?
It's like trying to drown a fish or burning fire with more fire.
It really is. It's a complete break in the film's own internal logic. But the plot needs Horus to lose his eye, so he gets blinded by a reflection.
Whatever it takes to move the plot forward.
Set steals the eyes, strips him of his power, and Horus is cast out into the desert.
And Hathor, the goddess of love, saves his life by offering herself to Set. She becomes his mistress bearer, Horus.
Which sets up the middle act of the movie, the heist.
Right. A year passes. Beck decides he's going to steal back one of the eyes of Horus from Set's vault.
And here we go, back to the bad acting and the weird dialogue. The source highlights the scene where Beck is explaining the plan to Zaya. He's describing the trap, 2 bridges, red throw trap. And the critique is that there is zero emotional investment. He's just reading lines off a page.
He's explaining a death trap like he's ordering a coffee. Can I get 2 bridges and a red throw trap, please?
And speaking of death traps, let's talk about the Hathor and the knife scene. This is a moment of pure frustration for the reviewer.
Oh, I remember this. Hathor is in bed with Set.
She's in bed with the villain. He is asleep or distracted. She picks up a knife. She holds it to his neck.
This is it. The movie could end right here. Roll credit. The world is safe.
And she doesn't do it.
Why?
The source is screaming at the screen. Stab him. We established earlier that gods can be killed. Osiris was stabbed to death.
Right. With a normal knife.
So Saidi is mortal enough to die. She has the weapon. She has the access. And she just hesitates.
Maybe she thinks...
But he's asleep. It's a perfect assassination opportunity wasted just to keep the plot going. It makes the character look incompetent.
It's that classic movie trope where characters forget their motivations just so the movie can reach the 2-hour mark.
So frustrating.
And meanwhile, Beck is navigating the vault.
Navigating bad CGI elephants and a floor trap puzzle where, as the source points out, the center circle just presses itself.
Well, perhaps solves itself.
Apparently. The logic of the puzzle is barely there. And then Beck grabs the Eye of Horus, and suddenly this moral thief knows exactly how to use a god's artifact. He uses the eye to blind the guards.
Instant mastery. No manual required. No practice.
Learning by touching, apparently. But despite the success of the heist, tragedy strikes. Zaya is shot during the escape.
Discount Jasmine goes down.
But this leads us to the one silver lining of this sex. Zaya dies, and Anubis arrives to take her to the end.
Jackal-headed god, one of the coolest looking gods in the pantheon.
And the source pauses his rant here to give praise. He notes that Anubis is actually depicted perfect. He looks right, the design is accurate, dark, jackal-headed. He acts right, somber, dutiful, silent. He's not quipping. He's not a monk. He is a guy.
It's a rare moment where the movie seems back to mythology.
A very rare moment. And it's almost frustrating, isn't it?
How so?
It shows they could do it. They had the designers. They had the ability. They just chose not to for everyone else. It proves that the schlock was a choice, not a mistake.
That's a good point. So Zaya is in the underworld, and Beck makes a deal with Horus. I'll help you kill Set if you bring her back.
The quest begins, and this leads them to, first, Ra's Sunbart.
And then to what the source calls the best scene in the movie.
The recruitment of Thoth.
But first, they have to visit Grandfather Ra. Horus and Beck fly up to his son. Now, visually, the source admits this is admittedly pretty cool.
It is, to be fair.
We get to see the flat Earth orbit.
Yes, the movie leans into the mythological cosmology where the world is flat and the sun travels over it in a boat. It's a really cool visual. And there's a nice detail where the heat is so intense that the mortal Beck burns, steps out of Horus's shadow.
See, that's a cool detail. That's using the nature of the gods for storytelling. The god casts a shadow that protects the mortal. That's mythic.
It is. It's a great little touch.
Yeah.
But then we meet the villain Ra is fighting. Apophis.
Great serpent of chaos, the eater of the sun. In mythology, this is a terrifying world-ending...
Or, as the movie depicts him, a giant worm space cloud.
Oh no, not the cloud villain.
the cloud villain. The source critiques this heavily. He references Galactus from the Fantastic Four movie. It's this Hollywood trend of taking a distinct physical entity and turning it into a vague, smoky cloud.
I think it's easier to animate, or maybe they think it looks more cosmic.
Whatever the reason, it's a letdown. Instead of a terrifying giant cobra fighting the sun god at the edge of the world, we get a a worm space cloud.
It's just under. But moving on from the cloud, they get their mission from Ra and go to find Thoth, the god of knowledge.
And this is played by the late, great Chadwick Boseman.
Our source identifies this as the highlight of the film.
It really is. Boseman plays Thoth with this incredible ego and flair. He just seems to be having so much fun with the role.
The visuals here are fun, too. Thoth is surrounded by clones of himself.
Because he trusts no one else's intellect. He's so smart that the only person worth talking to is himself. It's a great character beat. It immediately tells you everything you need to know about.
It's brilliant. And the way Horus recruits him is actually clever. He doesn't beg for help.
No. Horus manipulates Thoth's vanity. He tells him, I told the Sphinx you were too afraid to solve his riddle because you might get it wrong.
Ooh, the I dare you strategy, playing to the ego.
And Thoth immediately buys in. He can't let the world, or a Sphinx, think he's afraid of a riddle. It's a great example of show, don't tell regarding his character. It's smart writing, which is, to be honest, rare grip.
It really stands out, but then they get to the Sphinx, and the smart writing falls off a cliff.
The riddle of the Sphinx,
Yeah.
a classic mythological trope. The group confronts the beast. The riddle is, I am never was, and always to be. No one ever saw me, nor ever will, and yet I am the confidence of all who live and breathe.
Okay. Never was, always.
Yeah.
It's a classic riddle structure. Seems pretty straight.
Thoth, the god of knowledge, the smartest being in existence, guesses wrong.
He guesses wrong. Thoth.
He guesses things like a shadow. He gets flustered. And then the uneducated moral thief, Beck, solves it.
Beck solves it. What's the answer?
The answer is tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, and the god of knowledge couldn't figure that out. Always to be and never was. That feels like Riddle 101.
That's the critique. It completely undermines the entire concept of the character they just built up so well.
It really does.
If a mortal thief can outsmart the god of wisdom in 5 seconds, is he really the god of wisdom? It's a cheap trope, the street smarts beats book smarts thing, but applied here, it just makes the god look incompetent.
It's sacrificing the character's integrity to give the main hero a win.
Exactly. So they solve the riddle, they get past the Sphinx, they are ready to take down Set. They have a plan involving the waters of creation.
This is the big MacGuffin for the second act.
It is. The plan is to pour these waters into Set's fire, his source of power, to quench it and weaken it. It's the driving force of the entire middle hour of the movie.
The heist, the journey to Ra, recruiting Thoth, the Sphinx, it's all been building to this one moment.
And it fails completely. The whole thing. Utterly and completely. Set intervenes, he destroys the water, and then he rips Thoth's brain out.
Whoa. He literally rips his brain out.
Yes, literally rips his brain out.
That escalated.
And the plan collapsed. The source expresses extreme narrative frustration because the plan fails so thoroughly, the entire middle section of the movie is rendered pointless.
Right.
You could cut it out, and the characters will be in the exact same position, just without a god of knowledge.
That is the definition of bad pacing. If the characters don't learn anything or gain anything that helps them in the end, it's just filler. An hour of filler.
And it gets worse.
Yeah.
Set reveals his real plan.
He has a master plan. It wasn't just about ruling Egypt.
No, it's bigger than that. And this is where we get Voltron Set.
Voltron Set, I'm picturing a giant robot made of lions, but Egyptian.
Close. Set has been collecting body parts of the other god. He has the wings of Nephthys. He now has the brain of Thoth. He wants the eye of Horus. And he is physically attaching them to himself.
He's building a Franken god, a god made of other gods.
He is making a chimera god. Now, the source admits, conceptually, this is kind of fun.
I can see that. It's a pretty wild idea.
A god stealing the powers of other gods to become the ultimate being. It's very anime. It's very over the top.
It's very video game, boss. I have absorbed your abilities. Now I can fly and think.
Exact. Set's ultimate goal is to destroy the afterlife because he wants immortality in this world. He wants to rule forever on Earth, not in some spiritual.
Okay, so the stakes are high. Set is now super Set. He goes to Ra's sun barge.
He fights Ra, defeats him. He takes Ra's spear. He unleashes the cloudworm Apophis to eat the Nile, to consume all of creation. It's chaos.
So it all comes down to Horus. He has to stop him. We get the final battle. Horus fights Set on top of a giant obelisk.
Classic high ground situation. Very cinematic.
But here comes what the source calls the elevator logic.
Yes. This is a hilarious continuity error.
Oh.
Horus takes an elevator partway up the obelisk.
Wait, an elevator?
A magical elevator, yes.
Yes.
And then he jumps off to climb the rest of the way.
Did the elevator break?
No reason given. He just decides to do it the hard way. It's a nonsensical action beat in a scene full of...
That's amazing.
But it leads to the final choice, the climax of the emotional arc. Horace manages to knock up, sit back. He has a choice. Save Beck, who was falling off the tower, or grab his other eye and regain his full power.
The classic hero's dilemma. Power or love friend.
He chooses to save the mortal. He catches Beck. He lets the eye.
Which means he loses the eye. He's still only at half power.
But wait, Deus Ex Machina to the rescue.
Oh no!
Because he chose altruism. Because he made the selfless choice. His powers magically return anyway. With both his eyes heal. He is fully powered.
The power was inside him all along.
Literally. The movie pulls the Dumbo's magic feather trope. He didn't need the eye, he just needed to be a good guy.
That feels unearned. It completely undermines the mechanic of the eyes that was established for the whole movie.
It feels very safe. Very Disney.
Sure.
The hero becomes a true hero by letting go of what he thought he needed.
Sure, but it doesn't make any sense in context.
None at all. So powered up by his own goodness, Horace defeats Set. Ra returns, fights off the space cloud. Order is restored.
And the aftermath, the wrap-up.
Horace becomes king, of course. A much wiser, more humble king. And he makes a deal with the gods to bring Zaya back to life, a reward for Beck's help.
A happy ending for the happy couple.
A very happy ending. But the source points out a dangling thread, a major one, actually. Remember Hathor?
Yeah, she was dragged to the underworld earlier by demons.
She was. And technically, she's still there. Or missing. The movie just brushes it off with a line like, "We'll find her," and a confident look from Horace.
Don't worry about the goddess of love. She's tough. She'll catch the next bus out of hell.
It's a weird loose end in a movie that tried to tie everything else up in a neat bow. It's kind of forgot about.
So we've walked through the plot. We've seen the Scottish god, the space cloud, the brain stealing. What is the final verdict from our experts?
The verdict is that it is a massive, massive missed opportunity.
Let's break down the what worked column first, because there were some things, we have to be fair.
Definitely. Anubis, he was perfect.
Perfect.
Thoth Chadwick Boseman's performance was a highlight. He elevated every scene he was in.
Absolutely.
Some of the creature designs, like the giant snakes Beck and Horace fight, cool. And the concept of the sun barge and the flat earth cosmology was visually interesting.
But the what failed column is much, much longer.
Inconsistent CGI. Sometimes it looked great, like a modern blockbuster. Other times it looked like a video game cutscene from 2005. The green screen work was often very obvious.
The fire effects.
Oh, the fire effects. And the dialogue was schlocky. And fundamentally, the misunderstanding of the structure and tone of Egyptian myth.
And the what if. This is the part of the analysis that really hurts, I think.
It is. The source laments that this could have been a Game of Thrones-style epic. Think about it. The war between Set and Horus isn't just a fistfight. In the myth, it's a protracted, brutal civil war among the gods that lasts for 80 years.
80 years. Wow, so you have different facts.
Exactly. Imagine if the movie involved actual Egyptian gods taking sides. Sobek, the crocodile. Sekhmet, the lioness war goddess. Bast. Instead of generic CGI minions, imagine these distinct, terrifying deities choosing their allegiance between order and chaos.
That sounds incredible. A political, mythological war drama. House of Horus versus House of Set.
Instead, we got generic robot suits and a space. The frustration isn't just that the movie's bad, it's that it wasted a rich mythology that rarely gets big budget treatment.
That's the real tragedy of it.
How often does Hollywood give $140 million to Egypt?
Almost never. Usually it's Greek or Norse mythology that gets the big screen treatment. And because this flopped so hard, they probably won't do it again for a long, long time.
Exactly. It poisoned the well.
So to wrap this all up, Gods of Egypt's a schlock. Dumb, loud, expensive, and culturally confusing.
It's not the worst movie ever made. The source compares it favorably to things like Percy Jack, Sea of Monsters, which he seems to think is
high praise.
But it has moments of fun. It's so bizarre and over the top that it becomes entertaining. But at its core, it's a cautionary tale.
And the takeaway for our listeners from this whole deep dive?
Respect the source material. It's that simple. Whether you are adapting a book, a comic, or an entire culture's belief system, when you strip away the unique elements, the animal heads, the geography, the actual ethnicity of the people to make it marketable or safe,
you end up with a generic product that pleases no one.
You sand off all the interesting edges and you lose the soul of the story.
Precisely.
You end up with something that feels like everything else and nothing at all.
So here is a thought to leave you with today.
Yeah.
We've talked at length about how this movie failed to capture the weirdness of the myths. The animal heads, the gold skin, complex families. If Hollywood were to try this again today, maybe as a high-budget series, maybe as a film, how would they need to adapt that surreal?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do you make a guy with a falcon head talking to a guy with a jackal head look serious, emotional, and modern without it looking like a cartoon or plain silly? Is it possible to keep the weirdness and the gravitas?
Or are some myths just too surreal for live-action photorealism? Do you lean into it, make it stylized like a comic book movie, or do you try to ground it?
It's a challenge I'd love to see someone tackle with the right cast this time.
Absolutely. With the right cast and maybe a little less gold glitter.
That's all for today's deep dive into the sands of gods of. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.